The Mandalorian Chapter 19 is the best Mandalorian episode we've ever gotten. The Mandalorian Chapter 19 is the worst Mandalorian episode we've ever gotten. I have heard both of those statements this last week. Why is this episode so divisive? I personally loved it. It hit all the right feelings for me, and the feeling of Star Wars is so subjective, as we all know, we've talked about many times, but maybe it was the Coruscant skylines, maybe it was just something else, the serious storytelling, but it got to me. I loved this episode, but if you didn't, I want to hear you active in the chat. Maybe I'll even bring you on stream if you're opinionated enough to talk about why that might be. Also, in our news segment tonight, more breaking news, never before released footage. I think you're going to enjoy that. So I hope you enjoy your time here. Stick around through the entire show, only here on Coffee on Korriban. Hello and welcome back to the show. Very good to see all of you guys tonight. To start off, my favorite comment of the week comes to us from Aaron Picard, who says, I mean, the monologues are good and all in Andor, but it's no, I hate sand. And I completely agree. That line I've talked about before is very misunderstood. There's a lot of legitimate reasons why that line is a good line. And that just goes to show that as good as Andor was, there's nothing on the feeling of the originals or the prequels. So that is a little bit of the reason why I loved this episode. Maybe it was just the visuals, like I said in the intro, of the Coruscant skyline, but it really hit hard for me. Man, it just, something about nighttime on Coruscant really hit hard. Let's say hello to the people in the chat. We've got Nek Badesh. Here is a sip for you. Oscar, let me try. Decolote, chocolate, Ticolote. Here's a sip for you. We've got Father Time in the chat. Here is a sip for you. And Israel Garcia, a sip for you. Very nice to see all of you guys in the chat tonight. And I want you guys to put off right off the bat, what was your rating out of 10 for this episode? If you saw my reaction, I know I was a little late to the game as far as posting it, but I put 9.25 out of 10. I liked it better than last week's episode. I really liked this episode. I see Father Time put a 7.5 in the chat right there. Israel says 8-ish. Maybe I'm one of the only people that loved this episode, but we're going to get into a little bit of the reasons as to why that might be as soon as I pull in my guests. So first, we have, if I can find the clip, one of the best clips I have. Welcome, Master Paul.
I'm going to punch him right in the clothing.
I got yeeted!
What's up?
How is it going, good sir?
Can I bring a quick picture on the screen? Something I want to show everyone.
Sure.
Okay, so basically this is something that, unless there's some unforeseen complications, I should be getting in the mail on Wednesday.
Ooh.
Yep, so I ordered that. Good lord, had to be in about 9 weeks ago, and it's taken them that long to make it. But that is from the company Saber Trio, and
cool.
I will be doing an unboxing video for this when I get it, so stay tuned for that.
Sweet, I look forward to it. That looks awesome.
Thank you. I'll send you the link real quick.
Sweet. And also welcome to the stream. If I can find a good clip, here we go.
It is so good. That's not where it's really good. Oh, I know where it's really good.
The
right here
beard is here. Yeah.
That's where it's really good.
It's always such a fun time. And for those of you that don't know, Father Time is my actual father. We live on different parts of the country, but it's really nice to be able to, have something to come together about once a week. It's a lot of fun.
And in between, when we're comparing notes.
And in between, as absolutely. We're on the phone all the time talking about this sort of stuff. Let's get to some chats here, and then we will get to talking about this episode. Next says 9. Oscar says 9. Wolfden says 8.5. Coffee and cookies. So, about the cookies, I never thought I would get so creeped out by someone eating a cookie. But also, they looked really good because I think they were like shortbread cookies.
They were biscuits.
Shortbread cookies are like my favorite kind of cookie because they're not too sweet. So, the show is what's going on. This is what's going on right here. And also, before we get into any more discussion, if you guys would like to support the channel, first off, just you being here is enough. Being active in the chat. I love hearing from you guys. You all have the best comments. You guys are very insightful into what you appreciate and don't appreciate about these things, and I love you being in the chat. If you want to go a step further, you can always delicately tap that like button if you want to. And if you really, really want to support the channel, there's always the super chat option, but I'm not going to beg you for money or anything. We got Nanny in the chat. Here is a sip for you. Good to see you. And Jake76 says, how are you doing? I am doing rather well. Father Time, meant to ask you behind the scenes, but now we're started the show, so I'm going to ask you now. The L tyrosine.
Yeah.
How's that going?
I didn't notice.
Okay. Well, you might as we continue the conversation.
I was in a hurry, so
I gotcha.
We'll come back to that.
We'll come back to it. All right. I think it will. Anthony YouTube fan says, I absolutely vote excellent. I don't understand how fans can't understand this kind of form of multi-tiered Star Wars storytelling. It's the Mandoverse. It all connects. Very, very good point. Nova Vaughn says 3.5. I would be very interested in hearing your reasoning for that. Later on in the show, if you want to come on, then you can always jump in and give us your reasoning, as I'd love to hear it. I do need to make the cookies. That would be awesome.
That would be cool to make those biscuits.
Yeah, Blondie boy. We're rating the episode. My personal rating for this episode, and again, this is Mandalorian scale, not overall Star Wars scale, because
Compare it to itself.
It's its own show. So I'm comparing only seasons 1, 2, and 3 of The Mandalorian. In which case, this last episode, chapter 19, I give 9.25. It's really high up there. It was a different
feel from traditional Mando, that's for sure.
Yes, which may be the reason why I liked it. I very, very well could be.
Didn't get what I was expecting.
If we're voting on the episode on a scale of 1 to 10, I give chapter 19 a solid 8. Things are really going to get crazy now. It's there's tension. There's
going into
definitely building up tension.
Because I could throw something on top of that. I mean, I think it does create mystery, and it tied me into the rest of the season. Now I need to know what's going to happen. I have in my own mind different paths that we could go down.
Lots of different paths. There's even questions on, is Bo-Katan going to stay with the children of the Watch? What is the role of this officer lady? Like, is she loyal to Moff Gideon? Is she loyal to some other faction of the Empire? Maybe she was a mole under Moff Gideon who works directly for Thrawn. We don't exactly know how that all ties in. There's always a possibility for everything. So I want to get your guys' ratings real quick and your initial reactions to the episode. But first I want to try something. I'm going to try to play some quick background music. I don't know if you guys can hear it, if it's annoying.
It's really quiet.
Okay. All right. Let's try a little louder.
I hear it.
I just don't want it to be annoying because it's not typically what I do for this show, but we're going to try it.
Be careful, Father Time. Repeated uses cause the most damage.
All right, so Master Paul, starting with you, I haven't even gotten your reaction.
Okay.
Rating for this episode and a little bit as to why.
So, honestly, I did not hate this episode. Let me state that right off the bat. Did not hate it. But at the same time, I was getting some serious Book of Boba Fett flashbacks with this one, of how we're spending in my opinion, more time than I think we should have with someone that isn't the main character of the show.
Sure.
And truthfully, I feel like this episode, at least to me, could have gotten away with it had we not had 2.5 episodes of The Mandalorian within Book of Boba Fett. That being said, everything that did have Mando in it, I liked. And I am definitely intrigued with what's going to happen next, even if I'm not the biggest fan of that officer lady. Mm-hmm. I did like what they were doing with Dr. Pershing, except for one scene. So overall, honestly, I'm kind of at a 6 out of 10 for this one.
Okay. I can definitely appreciate that. And I'm sure we'll get into a little bit later the reasons as to why. Father Time, I think you said you put up a 7.5?
7.5. And
what's your reasoning for that?
A sliding scale. I can change that. I didn't like the acting qualities between the two.
Okay.
That were in the main portion of the show. So just there, it was a little cheesy. But I like the story. I like how it's going. I like how they're tying it back into somebody that we've known from before, bringing them back in. And that's going to play... The reason I'm okay with it is because I think it's going to play a big role in the plot line of the whole season. So I'm okay with that. I just didn't like the acting. And I didn't like them with the popsicles and touching the rocks and the little cheesy stuff until I saw your review. And I was like, you know what? That's what you would do if you were there.
And that's I have a whole right, and I had a whole video about that, of saying, okay, sure, it feels like we're going off on a bunny trail. We are. This is not the Mandalorian storyline. It's a whole chunk of an episode. Sorry if that was loud. It's a whole part of the episode, arguably an entire episode, about not this show. And so for some people, obviously that's going to catch them off guard. I totally get that. But for the experience of it, if you were there, would you not do that? Hey, there's a lecture coming up from this scientist that used to work for the Empire, and now he's trying to turn a new leaf. Like, what insights does he have? Would you want to attend his TED Talk? Yeah. Would you want to walk around a Star Destroyer at night, even if it's creepy? Yeah. Would you go get a popsicle? Would you touch the Mount Everest of Coruscant? I think that's so cool.
In the dark and creepiness. I like that. That was cool. Let's check out this place. And then the other thing is, I was going to say was, although I didn't like the acting, I did buy into the character because when he was getting his mind ripped, I felt really bad for him. Yeah. So I did care for him.
And also because as a scientist, he knew what was coming.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And also it hit me in editing the Easter egg of him saying to the person, like, no, it was a trap. But he's saying it to Mon Calamari.
Yeah. Honestly, was the one scene involving Dr. Pershing that I didn't like. That just to me came off as stupid.
I thought that was funny because I didn't catch it the first time. I caught that after the fact, so I thought that was really cool.
There is one thing, though, that I would like to mention off the bat, and I know you, especially Tim, are going to get a kick out of this, but cast your mind back to before Andor had even come out, and you were seriously hyping up that show, and you know how I was. I was really not looking forward to it because I didn't care for Andor. Then Andor comes along, and I say on your stream that I liked it, but it wasn't the show that I was looking for.
Right.
And you yourself have said that Andor is a serious spy thriller, Mando's a Saturday morning cartoon. I thought I wanted the Saturday morning cartoon, and now I'm starting to realize, you know what? Maybe I too was spoiled by Andor.
Yeah, I can see that. And I guess the whole through line for this episode is, although I loved it, I can absolutely understand why it didn't hit other people the right way. And I know that some people I've heard, and even just in thumbnails and titles of their streams and videos and stuff, really did not land well with a lot of people. And that's kind of what I wanted to talk about, is maybe the differences as to why. Obviously for me, I already talked about it, Coruscant, like I got behind me, just the feelings it gave me. If you watched my review, the half the time I was just like freaking out about how good it looks, how good it feels, which is such a subjective thing that I think as Star Wars fans, we're always chasing. How do we feel that this is Star Wars? And for me, this episode had that in spades. So Israel Garcia right here says the way they were doing things, it felt like they were trying to copy the way Andor did things. I don't think they did as good of a job, but that was the vibe I got from it. And that is something I wanted to talk about as a main point. Were they trying to go for Andor storytelling, or did we just recognize Andor storytelling because that's what we got in this? Because it was a major departure from traditional Mandalorian. It's very different.
I think
that's tough.
I think this definitely came. I don't know whether or not they intended for this to happen or not, because for all we know, Mando season 3 could have been filming at the same time as Andor. So I don't know whether or not this episode was the way it was because of Andor, but it certainly came across that way, whether they intended to or not.
If we never had Andor, we would have still noticed it was different.
Yes,
oh, yeah, we would
absolutely.
We just really wouldn't have had. Oh, this reminds me of this specific Star Wars show. It would have been like, yeah, it's different, but I can't put my finger on why.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. Yeah, you're right. So maybe that's also another reason why it really landed with me, is because we're taking our time through this episode. We're working through these little character details, the connection of the cookies and him kind of coming out of his shell a little bit and opening up to the other officers or reformed officers or whatever, about saying like, well, yeah, those cookies, I kind of liked those, and kind of seeing a little bit of his character progression.
It took me a while to figure out if he was even telling the truth in this whole story, or if he planned it himself.
Can I share a quick meme regarding this episode?
Sure.
All right, so I used this, by the way, on my own stream last night, but I had to. I think I found this on Twitter, but I had to.
Dark side really does have
it.
cookies. Yeah, that's so funny. Join the dark side. We have cookies.
Yeah.
That's
I'll
awesome.
DM it to you.
You know someone's gonna make those cookies, package them like that, and sell them.
Oh yeah.
And I would be the one to pay for them.
You guys keep calling them cookies. They get
I know.
They're
or
biscuits.
the Galactic Star Cruiser.
They don't sound as tasty when they're called biscuits.
Yeah. Although the Imperial symbol does make everything look cooler, even if it's just a box of biscuits. So, all right. Well, let's take a quick break from discussion on this, and let's get into our first news segment of the night. This is News from the Stars.
From the farthest corners of the galaxy and every channel in the holonet, we bring you News from the Stars.
So Google recommended an article to me the other day. I saw the title, and I thought it was interesting, and I thought I would share it with you guys. This one comes to us once again from Inside the Magic. New leak reveals jaw-dropping episode count and runtime for upcoming Star Wars series. Interesting. There's a leak, runtime, episode count. Very interesting. Maybe this is for, I don't know, Book of Boba Fett Season 2. Maybe this is for Ahsoka, Andor Season 2. Skeleton, could be for anything. I don't know. But let's get into the article. Disney has had a surprising amount of success with its live-action Star Wars series on Disney+. The Mandalorian, Obi-Wan Kenobi, The Book of Boba Fett, and Andor have all drawn plenty of viewers, and despite the odd complaint, have been generally well received. It only stands to reason, therefore, they would pursue more like the Star Wars The Acolyte, and they aren't going halfway on this one. It's about The Acolyte. It is about The Acolyte. Well, I guess any information we can get about anything is kind of cool, I guess, so let's check it out. One of the more interesting projects Kathleen Kennedy and Lucasfilm are putting out in the next years, it definitely has to be The Acolyte. I don't think it's one of the more interesting ones.
No.
I don't think so. Nearly every other series surrounds characters or time periods we're familiar with. Mando Din Djarin, Grogu, Cassian, and even Ahsoka Tano. There are even rumblings that Star Wars Skeleton Crew will see Jude Law and company in the post-original trilogy era as well. But I guess what they're getting at is that The Acolyte is going to be in new faces, new time period, new all that. Mm-hmm. So what? Acolyte, on the other hand, is shrouded in mystery. Set in the High Republic era, at least 100 years before the prequel trilogy, audiences will see a lot of fascinating characters and scenes that have only been teased in video games, books, or other content, but never in this format. Fans will see Jedi, Sith, and so much more in this Sith-centered series. There's a lot of potential, and the latest leak only adds to the mystery, excitement, and that potential. So, alright, so I guess there's a leak. Right? I don't care about the Acolyte very much, but I guess there is a leak. So let's figure out what the leak is. The Direct reported on a leak that stated that not only will the Acolyte have 8 episodes, but audiences can expect each of them to be around 60 minutes. If this is true and accurate, not only will that make for what is essentially an 8-hour movie, but will beat The Mandalorian for the longest live-action Star Wars series episode, which was just set in Season 3. This has some pretty important implications for the Acolyte and for the future of the Star Wars streaming series.
What are they talking about? They're talking about this episode we just had?
The Acolyte.
No, I'm
maybe.
talking about 60 minute.
Yes, probably.
It was 56 or something like that.
Yeah, you're right. So I guess this leak is saying 8 episodes, an hour long each. I guess is what this thing is saying. 8 hours. 2 of which is probably credits.
Yeah.
So they continue. Firstly, for the series itself, this means that the production team is taking the project extremely seriously. They have a story to tell, and they're not taking any shortcuts to tell it. They undoubtedly know the risk of modern audiences consuming shorter and shorter media. Shorter and shorter. But the story must be so important that they need the entire time. Secondly, for Star Wars streaming as a whole, it may just change the way that fans see live-action Star Wars series. Oh, it'll change the way we see the Star Wars live-action series, will it? Okay.
Is that a good thing or a bad thing?
That's I don't know. These Inside the Magic articles is just a long way around of saying, hey, there's some Star Wars coming out, I guess.
Yeah.
So it finishes up here. If audiences become used to the 60-minute episodes, will other offerings seem short in comparison? Lucasfilm could use that to their advantage. If showrunner Leslie Headland sets the precedent for hour-long episodes, people like Dave Filoni and Jon Favreau would be able to use shorter episodes to create cliffhangers and tension. As annoying as it would be for viewers, it would draw in more audiences week after week, as long as there is a cathartic payoff in the next episode. End of article. So wait a minute. You're telling me we read that entire article being promised leaks and exciting new information for the future of Star Wars products, and all that it has to say is that they might be longer, and then we might also get some shorter episodes.
Yeah, that was just a huge nothing burger.
That absolutely was a huge nothing burger, but that was the news from the stars.
From the farthest corners of the galaxy and every channel in the holonet, we bring you news from the stars.
News from the Direct.
Sorry to waste your time, everyone.
I was excited for those new fascinating tips.
KG, good to see you in the chat. Datboy Steve, good to see you as well. Mountain Dew. Awesome. There is a lot of consumption of Mountain Dew around where I live. Next says, honestly, I'm hopeful on Acolyte given that it will be completely new characters. Disney does pretty well with a new suite of characters like Rogue One. I agree.
Favorite movie.
I agree. And Blondie Boy says he's really excited for the Acolyte. I'm interested. I won't go so far as to saying... Yeah. I won't go so far as to say that I'm excited just because we haven't had any information. If we got a trailer and it looked really amazing, or we got some details about like this is what the subject matter of this show is going to be, and it looked really fascinating, yeah, I'll get excited.
Haven't had any details yet. There's nothing to get excited about.
Yeah, like sure, it seems interesting, but the showrunner, that Leslie person, and stuff that's come out with her, as well as it being set in an era that generally has a bad reputation from the books and comics and stuff, I can't really get excited about it.
Not to mention the idea of them bringing in writers that literally know nothing about, that specifically they want writers that know nothing about Star Wars.
That as well. Yeah, Father Time, if you didn't know that, the writers they were bringing in had never even watched any Star Wars before, and we're like, we get to do lightsaber battles.
Oh.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So
and either Leslie Headland herself and a lot of, or I think one of the actors that may or may not have been slated for it, were heavily preaching the idea that this may be nothing against anyone that's like this in real life, but this may be a very heavy LGBT type story.
Yeah, which I'm just going to go under the assumption that everything is going to be like that now. Before we get back into the dialogue, why did I almost say diagnostic? Too much work, probably.
A lot of other things that have gone wrong.
Yeah. I want to get into the comments of the week. I didn't have time to put them into a banner here, so I want to pull up the video, and we will get into the, not comments of the week, super extra special shout out. That's what we're talking about.
Good comments of the week already.
Yeah, the super extra special shout out is what I was meaning to talk about. So, the Flying Frisch, Israel Garcia, Midwest River Rat, Nova Vaughn, Don Clatterman, and that's it. There's your extra special shout out. Let me see if I have a video for you guys. I'm sure I do.
KG,
Somewhere.
Your information is correct.
Who wants to lick the batter?
Wow. If you've never
All
tasted
right.
Hoth Froth, by the way,
Ooh,
it's really good. That's not
Hoth Froth.
It's really good.
I
really is
thought. I might
That's
have
what
to
that.
Watch the video and I'll show you how to
Yeah,
make it.
that clip and this one is from the making of Hoth Froth.
Yeah.
Wow.
That's what that's from.
I bumped into someone this week and they said, I watched that 12 times in a row.
That's
is
so funny.
obsessive.
Like, okay. Now go
That
make
is
it.
awesome. Yeah, it's actually really, really good. I might actually put it up with the legitimate ingredients, because I love at the beginning of that video, you're like, follow along if you know the ingredients, but you never mention the ingredients. You just start mixing things together, just leaving everyone completely in the dark. It's awesome.
Did you include the sequence stir, whip, 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 stir?
We went straight to licking the batters.
Pour in your Camino water and your Hoth snow and soil.
Yeah.
Mix it all about. And then keep stirring, and then lick the
Who
batter.
wants to lick the batter?
It's really good. So go watch the video if you haven't seen it.
Yeah.
I will.
It's pretty funny.
That was a long time ago, wasn't it?
It was.
Man.
2 years.
I can't wait till you come back out here this summer and
we'll
we'll
do
make
more.
all new Hoth Froth.
Yeah.
So anyway, let's get back into this discussion. So here's one main criticism that people have to this episode, more than the storytelling, more than the acting, more than the glowing popsicles, and that would be, it was too much of a bunny trail. What do you guys have to say about that?
I think
Honestly,
if it sets the plot for the rest of the season, it's not. It didn't.
Yeah.
It didn't jive with the first 2 episodes. I get that, but I don't think that it's too much, because I'm expecting it to lead somewhere big now.
And honestly, Father Time, I hope it does, because right now, I agree that that does seem like too much of a bunny trail. Next week's episode is going to have to prove whether or not it was, or heck, you know, I'll be generous and say the rest of the season is going to have to prove whether or not that was.
Yeah, I will not say that it's a bunny trail. Yeah,
one episode.
The only way that I'll call that a bunny trail is if we never revisit that for the rest of the season. Then it would be like, okay, why did you include that? Maybe it does tie in Ahsoka or something else in the future, but what was the point of that? And so I'll even give it a couple episode grace period. I just hope we do touch on that again. But again, to me, the most important thing in Star Wars is the world building. Make me feel like this is a legitimate, real place that I can go to and do the things and get the popsicles, touch the rocks, eat the cookies, drink the drinks. Like, this episode really delivered on that. And so for me personally, there's nothing else that I felt I was really lacking aside from maybe major developments or plot
if that was
twists.
the last episode of the season, I would have been really disappointed. But
I
it's
agree.
not. And so we have a lot more to go.
Yep, we're not even halfway through. Yep, you are absolutely
It's
correct.
Like, okay,
Chat.
cliffhanger for another season because it didn't really go anywhere.
Yeah.
But I'm okay
Yeah.
with it.
Did you guys catch the possibly Jurassic Park reference with the little thing that the magician kind of pulled the sheet away and it like, yeah, like, no? Anyone in the chat catch that? Okay, never mind. Everyone in chat, was this too much of a bunny trail? Yes or no? Just a quick, simple answer. Was this episode too much of a bunny trail away from the main storyline?
Yeah, but see, that's my thing. Is I think this is the main storyline.
Mm-hmm.
Because
We have
he's already found the water. He's back in the club,
Mm-hmm.
and Father Time needs to ride away on the Mythosaur.
Right. Where? I know I got to edit that still. Where is the main direction of this season going? Because we thought originally the whole season was going to lead up to him redeeming himself in the pools. We've already taken care of that.
That's done.
So
Yeah.
now, what is the main objective of this season? I would argue reuniting the clans of Mandalore is pretty top priority. What
Well,
is
we've opened
also
up the
going to...
possibility that the planet's inhabitable. We can go back.
Yeah, they can go there. Keiki says it's awkward. That's totally fine. It reminded me of the Bad Batch in the sense that we got several episodes with the boys in Omega, and then we got to hang out with Crosshairs. I haven't seen the Bad Batch yet, unfortunately, but I can infer. And one other thing that I was going to mention. Someone mentioned earlier, I think in a chat, that this episode was pointless because it showed that the New Republic is incompetent. I would argue that's amazing that we got to see that the New Republic is incompetent, because we've always got the question, if you assume that the sequels are part of Star Wars, some people still argue that they aren't. I've come to accept them in my own way. How did the New Republic fall? You know, you blew up the Death Star, you killed the Emperor, Darth Vader's dead, the remaining Imperials are scattered off into the ether, they're way out into the unknown regions and the Outer Rim. And then the New Republic takes over. How did they fall so quickly in the timeline that we have from now until Episode 7? But to see that they are falling into the same sort of traps that the Empire fell into, in the same way that the Jedi Order fell, they are relying on the fact that we are the good guys, and they got sloppy, and all these things fell apart. I loved that we got to see some of that incompetence in this episode. It's the world building. It lends credibility to the storyline overall, and I thought that was excellent. Good to see you in the chat, X-Wing. Nice
Hello.
logo.
There is one line that was said during that whole thing that really did strike me when one of the elitists are being like, Republic, Empire, New Republic, I can't keep track of it anymore, or however he says it.
Yeah, that was a good point. It's the Coruscant elite. They were like, whether under the Empire or whether under the New Republic, like, it makes no matter to me. I'm rich and I'm drinking my drinks and enjoying lectures at this fancy lecture hall. Like, I don't care. There are other people in the galaxy to worry about those things. Yeah, that's a good point. I forgot about that scene. But yeah, you're absolutely right. X-Wing says, I love it when a cash grab in Disney essentially makes everything that happened in the original trilogy pointless. I assume they're going to do that anyway, and I'm trying to enjoy whatever I can along the way. That's kind of where I'm coming from with that. See it as the New Republic is just as bad in ways. Yeah, it's the same thing about the Jedi Order, how they were corrupt, even though they were the good guys, the light side of the Force, and all the things that they preached, but you know, they weren't very good if you look into it. Another thing about the Bad Batch, I can't relate. So that's another thing I wanted to point out is that some people are criticizing it for saying like, oh, the New Republic is just, they have no idea what they're doing and they're making a bunch of mistakes. It's like, Yeah. I mean, you're establishing a new ruling government over the galaxy. That doesn't seem very easy to me.
Things may slip through the cracks.
Night Wizard, yes, I am. Just message me in Discord. Yes, I am going to. I'll probably upload it as a short. And as a matter of fact, why don't we get that right now? So let's take a break from this discussion and let's talk about the way the news goes.
The Republic will be reorganized into the first galactic empire.
I'm excited for this week's news.
I have obtained some super secret, ultra sensitive, never before released footage. This news story is not even broken anywhere. You can check CNN, Wall Street Journal, New York Times, Fox, all of them. They have not published the secret tapes that I have access to right now. So, to summarize the situation that we've got going on, many of you probably woke up like I did to the news that Donald Trump is getting arrested. I didn't really look into it all that much, but I thought, okay, like we've heard he's getting arrested, he's getting indicted, he's going to prison, all these things, we've heard all that before. But I did my own independent research. I paid good money, not bad money, mind you, to obtain secret information so I can break it right here to you guys live. I know this is a Star Wars channel, but I'm telling you, with a news story this big, you can't just only talk about Star Wars when you have an hour-long show. You have to talk about something, again, good money that I paid for. So before I release this footage, Master Paul, Father Time, anything that you guys know about this story, about, you know, the former president of the United States, current front runner for re-election, being arrested.
I'm just going to keep my mouth shut and watch the clip.
All right. Well,
I'm excited for this raw footage.
Okay, so if that's where you're wrong, chilling in the basement, there is official news. I'm about to break it right now. Nancy Pelosi is actually Lieutenant Biscuits. That's pretty funny. So, the news that I'm breaking right now, not only was Donald Trump going to be arrested, he has been arrested. I'm saying it right now, breaking the news right now. I have video proof. This is, as I pull up the clip, actual footage of him being arrested earlier today. Never before seen. Here's the clip right now.
Master Windu, I must say you're here sooner than expected, much sooner than expected.
In the name of the Galactic Senate of the Republic, you're under arrest, Chancellor.
Are you threatening me, Master Jedi? Because that wasn't very much of a threat.
The Senate will decide your fate.
I am the Senate.
Not yet.
Nobody is more a Senate than myself. Everyone agrees that it's treason then. You are fake news.
That was so
Hold up. Hey, someone in the control room, that wasn't what I thought it was.
Oh my goodness.
I paid good money for that clip. That's disappointing. That is not what I thought that was. I don't even know what. I paid good money for that clip. I thought that was reliable sources. You are fired. You in the control room, you are not employable anymore. Jeez, that's disappointing. But, you know, that's the way the news goes.
The Republic will be reorganized into the first galactic empire.
That was awesome.
Yeah.
And trust me when I say I've spent way too much time editing that video. It will go up as a short a little bit later tonight, but too much time. Darth Biden the Wise, yeah. So hopefully you guys enjoyed that clip. Man, I had that idea earlier today. Everything in my mind relates back to Star Wars in some way, even as I watch the news or listen to podcasts or whatever. So that is straight from my head. So
Nice.
thank you.
Yeah,
Hopefully you
that
guys
was really good.
enjoyed that.
I'm going to watch it again when you post it.
Yeah, Paul, if you got to head out,
Okay.
not a problem.
Yeah, I just wanted to give my final thoughts on this episode. For those that just tuned in, that didn't see the beginning, I gave this episode about a 6 out of 10. I did not hate it, and I did, in general, like specifically what they did with Dr. Pershing, but the fact that we were getting the majority of an episode in the Mandalorian show about someone who isn't in the Mandalorian was reminding me a lot of Book of Boba Fett, and not in a good way. And I do not like that comms officer character, the cookie lady. I don't like her. And I think the whole it's a trap thing was stupid. But everything with Mando, I did like. So 6 out of 10 for me. I'm going to go ahead and go to bed. Thank you, as always, for having me on here, Tim.
Awesome. Well, you are very welcome. Let me search your channel real quick. If you got to bounce, that's fine. I'm going to put it in the chat in case anyone is not subscribed to you.
Yep.
And you have a good night.
You too. See you later.
All right. See you, dude. Thanks for coming on. All right, everyone. I am putting in chat right now his link. If you are not subscribed to the Star Wars guys, please do. It costs you nothing, and it means a whole lot to him and to me as well. Star Wars Obsession, good to see you as well, sir. If you'd like to jump on, send me a message or whatever. We're going to be going for another 15-20 minutes or so. Just kind of wrapping this up tonight. But the last thing I wanted to talk about was converts. Are you eating?
No.
Oh.
I just dropped something.
Why do you have your brick wall? Why don't you go back to Yavin 4? Or better yet, Coruscant?
It was creating issues when I tried to, because I have to use Snap camera and it wasn't operating.
You should get a green screen and actually put Coruscant behind you. That's what I do with this, is I'll kind of bring up whatever we're talking about on like a screensaver. And that's kind of what I'm doing. But anyway,
I am
the convert. So obviously the title of this last episode was called The Convert. And I didn't know whether that was talking about Bo-Katan or Din Djarin or whatever, but I think there was some tie-in with the biscuits. So who do we think the Imperial Lady is and who she is working for? Obviously we know she's an officer and we saw her in the previous season of The Mandalorian. What do we think her angle is? What's your theory?
I think she's going to bring him back into Moff and get him back in working order and start cloning.
So you think there?
I think she was planted there to bring him back.
Okay, so she was planted there to bring him back with the
that was
supplies and all that stuff, and she's going to bring him back. A very interesting idea. Give me just a second to beep bop beep bop bop beep boop bop bop computer things sending that stuff over. Awesome. So we think that she is in league with Moff Gideon to collect him. Now with the mind erasure, not to 50, is his brain gone?
I don't know how that works. I think he's moldable.
Yeah. So
maybe
obviously she didn't.
This is who you are, and this is what you do.
Right. So obviously she didn't work. She's not working for the New Republic, because otherwise she wouldn't be as sketchy and brain melty as she is.
They can't
but
melt
the
everything
question
because he's
is,
smart and he has to use all that smarts. So they can't get rid of everything.
Unless was she completely just torturing him to melt his brain so he wouldn't spill the beans and blow her cover? Like, is it more simple than we're making it out to be? Could she have just been taking him out, so to speak, and then blaming it on a glitch on the machine? Real quick, I'm going to bring in another dude here, as long as he doesn't say some bad words. I don't know.
Yes, queen.
Stash Rendar himself. How are you doing, sir? It's been a little while.
Hello, my dear friends. How are you?
It's good to see you. I'm doing good. I'm in a new studio, I guess, from last time I talked with you.
Dude, you are looking crispy. You're looking. I got to get my Sonic shake out of the screen here. Sorry about that.
Just call it coffee and we're all good.
On your background?
I moved some stuff around. So like I put my droids over here, and then I put my lightsabers over here. I kind of kept the clones down here, and then I did some of the like George only stuff back here. But yeah.
Cool. It's looking nice, and purple as always is looking good. Stash is looking great as always.
You look fantastic, sir.
Well,
since the last time we've spoken. I mean, you've got like a whole, this is like a talk show thing.
That's what I'm going for.
You look good, man.
Yeah, thank you. I finally got a boom arm, so it's the same microphone, but now it's not sitting on a categories box.
See, and that was the thing, right? It was the microphone. This is like when people meet up after high school after like 20 years, and I'm still the same like fat arsehole that, and you're like, oh, now you're fit and looking good and successful, you know?
That's funny. That's funny. Yeah, it's just subtle changes, and again, this is what I really want to get across to anyone considering starting a YouTube channel about Star Wars or anything else. You don't need to spend money. The only thing I've really spent money on with my like actual money, serious money, is just my camera, and that's only a $200 camera.
And that was recent.
$20 for the lights, $20 for the boom arm, the same microphone. I just got a little foam cover.
Bio? What'd you get for a camera?
It's a Sony.
Oh, you got like a mirrorless.
Something mirrorless, yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, because my DSLR kept shutting off. Remember that?
I do. Yes. Yep.
I miss it a little bit. In some ways, I miss it.
I'm on a webcam from 1925.
That's so funny. But yeah, and also new apartment. I got depth in the background now with the TV and stuff.
Yeah, I see my Tarkin in the background still.
Yeah, dude. You got to remind me to take care of that. I will totally send it out to you.
I would just fit so perfectly right behind the Slave One there, you know? Oh, wait, wrong way. Yeah, right there in the purple light.
That looks nice. It's just little subtle touches and upgrades and stuff over time is really the main point of it. So to get back to the Father Time bod.
the wrestling bod, if you know that.
The wrestling bod?
Yeah.
I don't think I have a clip of you wrestling in here.
I need to do, yeah. If you're looking for
I'm not sure.
Oh, no.
I'm not sure.
I'm not sure.
Wasn't that Matt Cave stream? We were all just busting up laughing in the chat. Like,
yeah. I'm not sure. Exactly. So to bring it back to the Mandalorian, because we only have about 10 minutes left, what is your rating of this last episode and why?
It's moved like up and down a couple times.
That's what I said. I said mine's a sliding scale. So,
yeah, it's it's so tough because it's so multifaceted, and there are so many people that are willing to come out and just say like it's this, but the problem is that there's so many different things to talk about. For me, at this point, I hate to do it, but it's like a 4 or a 5 for me, and it's not because of the content in the episode. And that's the most important part, because if I judge this as not a Star Wars fan, this is a well-written episode, poorly edited, but a well-written episode, and it does the job it needs to do. For me, the problem with this is that this is a big callback to Andor. And while I loved Andor as a show, I don't think it's good for Star Wars because we got to be campy. Like, Star Wars is campy, man. And I'm a victim of my own hubris in saying that I wanted a really serious Star Wars show. I wanted this stuff. And then when I get it, I'm like, nope.
Yeah.
You ever try to put stuff in a moving van and you're like, I'm sure this is where the couch needs to go. And then it goes there and you're like, you know what? That's not going to work. This is not going to work. And then you take the couch out. This is that for me.
Yep. I agree. So one thing that I've thought about in regards to that. First off, I can see why people didn't like this episode. Now, the people that say 1 out of 10, 2 out of 10, this is the worst Star Wars since the sequels, or, going way over the top with their criticisms. Like, no, I don't see that. You're just being a little dramatic at that point. But the people that are legitimately like yourself, 4 out of 10, 5, 6 out of 10, I get it. I understand the criticism. It's a huge bunny trail away from the story of The Mandalorian, the show, as well as like where is this going? Where is it going to tie in? I know it's going to tie in the future, but the thing that bumped it up in my rating, if you didn't catch it earlier in the show, was 9.25 for this episode. Really high.
That's a
really
strong
high
stance, good sir.
Yes, and I will stand by it. And keep in mind, this is the Mandalorian rating scale, not Andor, not prequels, not Rogue One, nothing else. This is just all 3 seasons of the Mandalorian. This is my scale, 9.25.
Mando wasn't in it.
So the reason
he got
it's so
Boba
strong is because, and I know that's one of the main criticisms. The reason why my personal rating is so high for this episode is because of the feeling that it gave me. Maybe it's the Coruscant skyline.
Yes, you got pink glassed. You got the rose colors, buddy.
Yeah, I know. But I kept asking myself, if I were there on Coruscant, what would I want to do? I would want to walk around and get a glowing popsicle and touch the highest point of Coruscant. I
love you.
For me, I thank you. I love you too. The thing for me that impresses me most about Star Wars, that gets me the most hyped, is the world building. I've said that for years.
Then you should go to stay at their hotel and get the experience.
Yeah, go check out the Halcyon, bro. Worlds of building.
Save up.
I'm not sure.
That's awful.
You want all in on the experience. That's all in.
That's it, buddy.
That's
For the
not
low
what I
price
want.
of the rest of your life.
Yep.
That is not what I want at all. But I kept thinking during the episode, why do I feel this good? And it probably has something to do with the beautiful Coruscant buildings and
I'm
the
sure
architecture
none of
and
the
the
member
lights.
berries from the Opera House did anything at all to.
Trust me, I heard the choir. Trust me, I heard the choir.
The clap was the same clap that they used in Revenge of the Sith. So yeah, they're doing what they need to.
So for me, acting aside, bunny trails aside, Mando aside, the feeling that it gave me, I cannot ignore. And for that reason alone is why it rated so high for me.
Thought you were going to say,
and
for
that's
that reason,
just,
I'm out.
And for that reason, I'm out. Yeah.
Rock and roll.
But it's just, there's nothing I can do about that. It gave me the feeling of Star Wars, which is so subjective. It means different things to everyone else. But this episode gave it to me. Andor gave that to me a few different times. This episode really gave it to me. I can't do anything about that.
I felt it in Coruscant. Like when we first off the TIE interceptors, a lot of people are like, "That's a pointless gunfight." I'm like, "Yeah, welcome to Star Wars, moron." But then when we go to Coruscant, I'm like, "This is done beautifully." But this is where past trauma finds you. I'm like, "Where was this in Kenobi?"
I see that. Yep, I can see that. And as well as people are going to say, like, sure, it's beautiful Coruscant, but why couldn't we have had Din Djarin walking around Coruscant licking the popsicles or whatever?
He'll probably be there.
Tie it into the storyline somehow. Why don't you?
Yeah.
So
well, the stuff, I think it was a little. So I would say the biggest flaw for me, again, looking at this aside from being a Star Wars fan, is the editing process here. Because what I really would have liked to have seen is all this stuff that was going on with Pershing woven into episodes 1 and 2. So that we didn't have a 45-minute long Pershing episode.
Sure.
Yeah.
Just like, I mean, think about like...
And then you're going to get people complaining about, flashbacks, where are we getting these side quests? And we're not, this isn't tying into anything. It's just an extra 5 minutes an episode.
At this point, right? So this would tie into the story.
So
much like
people
Empire,
would complain about it, though.
People split off and then you can interweave these stories. I think it would have done well for episode 1 because a lot of people said it was dry.
Well, that's what they did with Andor. It was so many different storylines all over the place.
Yeah.
And they all come back together.
I like that, personally.
Yeah. There's going to be people complaining about everything. We already know that. I think if they did weave that into episodes 1 and 2 and slowly build to this point, the emotional connection to Pershing and getting to see his character arc would have been a little bit ruined, like we got in this episode. Because Father Time, you pointed out earlier, ruined. Not completely, obviously, but Father Time, you said by the end of this episode when he was getting his brain erased, like you felt something that you didn't think you were going to.
Yeah, I didn't like the acting. I didn't like anything about him. It was just like, okay, I'm going with the story. But then when he got his brain fried, I was like, it's not cool. I feel bad for him now. Well, then I bought in, didn't I? So.
I just feel like, there are so many things that I feel like they could have called back to, so many things to remind us, why do we care about Pershing? Like, we've been with this guy since day one, and a lot of people didn't realize, like, he's touching his ear. Why was he touching his ear? Do you remember?
True. See, now you got to go watch it again. I don't know.
Why was he touching his ear? He's got a little burn mark. Why? Because Cara Dune damn near shot the thing off.
You're right. I forgot about that. You are right.
And that didn't register in anybody's mind.
So I will update my assessment of this episode. I can't deny the feelings it gave me, which is why it gets a 9.25, but I get the criticisms, completely understand them, and I wish it was executed better. Which is where you were talking about, editing. There could have been so much better of a way that the screenplay in this episode, the callbacks, the tie-ins, make us care about this character instead of, oh yeah, I think I know that guy. So, execution was poor, but it still gave me the feels, and I can't do anything about that.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah. So this is the question that I was posing earlier. Is his brain completely fried? Because he acted like, no, this is going to kill me. You don't know. Oh, don't worry. We're going to put it at a lower voltage. Don't worry. It'll be quite a pleasant experience. But then he was like, no, I know what this... Yeah, very refreshing. EBN already made a shirt about that, if you didn't see.
I know. They're shameless. I love those guys.
So he knew what that machine was going to do, and that leads me to believe when she turned it up to 50, I think he's gone. I think he might be gone, and she was just using that as an excuse to
just like Bodhi,
get him off the trail.
Just like Bodhi, just like Maul. It's Star Wars, baby. No one's ever really gone.
No one is ever really gone. So that's one
I don't think
angle.
He's fried that bad.
You don't think he's fried? You think she's gonna take him and use him?
I
think she made him malleable, and then she's gonna be doing whatever.
Malleable.
They mushed him and they're gonna try to reintegrate him. But I don't know. The way she was looking at him, I feel like it's game.
She had so much spite when she turned that dial.
Yeah.
She was enjoying
ate
that.
the biscuit. Yeah. She ate the biscuit.
Can you believe that? His last travel biscuit. Coming to Galaxy's Edge in 2023, by the way, travel biscuits. Get your collectible case now.
I want them so bad. So bad. Yeah, I really do.
I ironically want them.
They need a science. Yeah, there you go. Chill in the basement. They need a science. That's what I'm
saying. See, I'm this type of Star Wars fan where I don't pay $1,500 for a sideshow collectible thing.
Right.
I pay someone to make me silver cast credits, like legitimate.
You didn't get one of my brother's helmets. Did you see those?
No, I didn't.
Oh man! So my brother's pewter casting custom stormtrooper helmets.
Wow.
I'm very interested.
They're not huge. They're because if it was solid pewter and it was a scale, it would be like 500 pounds.
Yeah.
I was just looking on eBay and I found some John Wick coins. So that's the kind of stuff I like.
Oh, that's cool.
So these things weigh like 10 pounds and he blues the skull with like bluing compound.
Mm-hmm.
They're really cool.
That is cool. That's awesome. She didn't even eat the red biscuit, which was her favorite.
Oh.
I'm starting to think she was lying about the red biscuit.
I don't think she was telling the truth the whole time. So,
did anybody else have any reservations as to whether or not she was actually evil, or did you think while watching that she might have been good?
So I thought from the very first second that I saw her, she is not reformed. She's in there, and she was looking at him like when he was like, "Oh, you were from Moff Gideon's ship." She was looking at him like, "Great, you blew my cover. Now I have to take you out." That was my initial thought from the very beginning. Was great. She's a mole, and now she has to take care of him. And then I was a little confused as she was, buddying up to take care of him.
What would she have been doing there in the first place?
Did the popsicles not give it away?
No.
This one's blue. This one's red.
She did stand in the shadows quite a bit. I did notice that, especially in the Star Destroyer.
Yeah.
She was in the shadows most of the time. So this is another thing that I wanted to touch on right before we ended the show. Is she a mole for Gideon, or is Gideon out of the picture and she is a mole for Thrawn?
Gideon's not out of the picture.
Well, for the time being.
Yeah. No, I think those ties came from Gideon's new ISD, because you couldn't launch that many interceptors from his old light cruiser, which is impounded at this point. So I think he's got an ISD, and Thrawn is light years away.
Coincidence? I think not. Yeah. We call that foreshadowing. Yeah, so anything else that you guys have talking about this, going into next week? What do you want to see next week? I know we really didn't even touch on Bo-Katan. Is she going to stay with Children of the Watch?
Yes, I think she feels like she belongs now.
Yeah, she hasn't felt welcomed in a while.
Mm-mm.
She's going to be
She wanted
really
to be by herself,
uncomfortable.
but she has nowhere to go. So
She's going to be really uncomfortable wearing that jacket, though. We all know that. Like, she's not good at being part of the crew, part of the ship.
Part of the crew,
and not
part of
taking
the
her helmet
ship.
off.
Yeah. So I do think seeing the Mythosaur awakened something in her, because she didn't take her helmet off after that, and she responded when Din said this is the way, which I don't think she said except for in jest, like to mock him.
Yeah.
In the previous season.
By
No,
the way,
I don't
that
trust her
Mythosaur
either.
Reveal was like top 10 Star Wars moments of all time for me.
Super
That was
cool.
Huge for me. And I love it because, you know, we get tiered now as Star Wars fans, and I'm at the bottom. I'm at the junk. They're like, you don't like anything. You're a terrible Star Wars fan. That was huge for me. I really liked that. And I'm actually really liking the Bo-Katan stuff, because I happen to adore Bo-Katan. And I think Katie Sackhoff is doing an absolutely awesome job. And people are like, oh, they're just doing wham and empowerment. And I'm like, if it's Bo, give me all the wham and empowerment. I don't
Right.
care.
And how much did we expect her character to develop in this season before we went into it? And how much has it actually developed since then? I mean, where do we see her in the first episode? She's totally dejected, sitting on the throne. There's no point to life anymore, basically. They're scattered across the galaxies. They're mercenaries. Wave that thing around and they'll follow you wherever they go. Now she's like, okay, so I'm Mythosaur. I'm redeemed. I'm accepted into this group. Maybe there is hope to reunite the Mandalorians. We can be something greater than just ruling of our people on our planet. So just the amount of character development we've gotten for just her in 3 episodes is pretty amazing, and she's a side character.
But only the sweaties really see that. That's the thing. If you're watching from the outside, people are like, who's this Bo-Katan person? She's useless. Meanwhile, we're watching, and she's like, holy shit, she just went to the living water, saw a Mythosaur, and got accepted back into Death Watch. Like,
What did you say? You're sounding like a separatist.
Death Watch?
Death Watch. No, but that does make me think. This is more character focused than I think we've seen in out of the first 2 seasons of The Mandalorian, with the exception of maybe Mix Mayfield, which was just one character in one episode.
So
but
good.
as far as like focusing on her and the bigger picture rather than creature, shoot it, fix the ship, let's go. It's a different feeling for this season, definitely, than the other seasons of The Mandalorian.
Except
it's
the
not
first episode.
Except the first episode. Yeah, you're exactly
like,
right.
we're back.
And we could get a crash land fix the ship episode for this next episode.
And if it's not
I don't
every
know.
episode, I'm okay with that.
Yeah.
Keep it campy, Star Wars, please.
Yeah.
Blow up more big dinosaurs.
I rescind my first year of content on YouTube. Don't listen to any of it, Lucasfilm. Just don't listen to it. Keep it campy.
That's funny. All right. Well, unless you guys have anything else to say.
Are we gonna have to wait for the post to see the news story again? Or are we gonna?
I'll post it right after this.
Well, thanks for having me back on. I miss you,
You're
buddy.
very
It's
welcome.
good to see you. Father Time, as always, it's a damn pleasure.
Very
Dude,
good to have both
Father
of you guys
Time
on.
does not miss. Every time he opens his mouth, I'm like, fuck, I need to listen to this guy. French.
I'm playing the long one this time.
What? What did you say?
Don't do this.
Don't do that.
How could you even say that?
And you're sounding like a separatist.
I'm a little French. I'm sorry, okay? We use different language.
All right. Well, I'm excited for this next week's episode, and
When does it come out?
Wednesday.
I'm just
Wednesday
kidding.
midnight.
I'm just kidding.
So I'm much more excited for the rest of this season. I know he does that.
Rough.
Oh, you could imagine growing up. He's a dad. What can I say?
That's right.
And now it's my turn. So get
Another one.
Yeah, 3 little children to twist their minds.
Put them in the flame.
So, yeah. All right. Well, that's going to do it for the show today. Hopefully, you guys have all enjoyed the discussion, that breaking news story, which will be up as a short soon. Hopefully, you guys thought that was entertaining. Man, I still don't know why I paid so much money for that private investigator to find me that, and it turned out to be absolute rubbish. But anyway, thank you guys for coming on. Always a pleasure talking with both of you guys. Everyone in chat, I really appreciate you guys being here. If you've been here from the very beginning of the stream, I really appreciate your time. May the stash be with you, and I will see you wherever I happen to see you in the galaxy.